You sometimes hear people say when people talk about rebuilding manufacturing in the United States that we shouldn't do it because getting more manufacturing jobs just means getting jobs that suck. You hear that manufacturing work is so dirty, dangerous, and unpleasant that Americans don't want to do that kind of work anymore. Now, that used to be true of industrial work, but with limited exceptions. This is only true today of the kind of low-end industries that no rational American industrial policy would target, and which would be very hard to bring back to the U.S. anyway, because they're mostly based on cheap labor, and there's plenty of foreign countries that have more cheap labor, more desperate people eager to work at miserable wages than we do. If you're talking about high-end manufacturing, like cars, aircraft, semiconductors, manufacturing jobs today are not miserable. They exist on a spectrum of physical rigor. Many of them are more technician rather than factory hand jobs in the old-fashioned sense. Many of them are really white-collar engineering jobs, sometimes with advanced credentials. It's no accident that recent automobile plants in the U.S., for example, have attracted many more applicants than the available positions they have for these, quote, jobs Americans don't want. Although 75% of Americans, according to a 2024 poll, said they're not personally interested in having a manufacturing job, and I, for one, I confess, am not, this still leaves 25% of the population that is interested, and that's more than double the percentage of our workforce today that has a job in manufacturing. Even the more physically demanding jobs in contemporary manufacturing are comparable in working conditions with construction and other industries that nobody's telling us that Americans have lost interest in. You've also got to remember that unpleasant depends on the pay. Every profession has hardship posts that attract people who consider the extra pay worthwhile. For example, we don't hear about Americans not wanting to work on offshore drilling platforms, which is kind of a miserable job, but the average pay is $100,000 a year. Now, to be fair, manufacturing jobs are often still noisy, especially for products made of metal, and they're regimented because they function at the cadence of machinery. But they're rarely hellish like in the old days. I strongly suggest you find a local factory that gives tours and take a look at what their working conditions are really like today. A couple of years ago, I had the privilege of visiting the Honda plant in Marysville, Ohio, which was the first Japanese transplant built in the U.S. And you walk in there, you walk around, you can see maybe 25% of the people in the plant are literally doing kind of old-fashioned assembly line work. Then you have 25% are kind of technicians who are tending and supervising the machines, making sure they're working properly. Maybe 25% that are really engineers who are sitting in these glass-walled cubicles off of the factory floor, making all this advanced stuff go. And then 25% people are cooking lunch and management and so forth. So I strongly suggest go and find a factory and actually go look what it's like.